So for our postures in this practice, we are going to be focusing on opening up the hips and the pelvis and working on our overall circulation throughout the body. So we're going to begin with the legs nice and wide. Once again, you might feel more comfortable to sit up on a little rolled up blanket or a block, just to rise the hips slightly. We're going to keep a little bend in the knees. If you feel like you're straining and holding the legs, that's not what we want. We want to feel comfortable here, so you might pop blocks, cushions, pillows, whatever props you've got to help underneath the legs. And then we're simply going to keep the toes pointing up and just bring the fingertips down in front. Once again, if you really don't have space for this, then maybe just bringing the hands to the knees is fine. And we're going to keep the spine as long as possible, and then just really gently just begin to circle just the upper body. So we should just feel a gentle stretch in the groin, the backs of the legs. Trying to keep those breaths nice and deep. Good, and also reminding not to compress that belly, so make sure you've got lots of space. Sit up tall. Good, we'll take the opposite direction. And bringing the body back up to center. Keeping the fingertips here or on those knees. We're going to lift and lengthen as tall as we can. Inhale. Hinging forwards again, just to where you have space, and we're going to hold there, so just opening up really gently into the lower back. And if this is a posture that you want to re-practice, if you're suffering with a little bit of strain in the back, you might grab a bolster or even just a pillow or two, and you can sort of rest, if you have the space, the arms on there, just to allow yourself to stay a little bit longer if it's needed. Keeping the toes engaged, just to keep that stretch in the backs of the legs. Gently coming back up. When you're ready, we'll release whatever props you have underneath those legs. Pop that out the way. And then really assist the legs up. So physically pull them with the hands. Good, we'll bring the hands behind now and just really gently sway the knees side to side, just loosen out. Rocks onto the sides of those feet. Good, and coming back up to center. Taking your time now, we are going to come onto the knees. So this is where we're going to need a few props. So I'm going to show you this posture with a bolster and also with a little makeshift bolster. So we're going to take a really wide child's pose. It's going to open up the hips, and this is also a position that you can stay in as long as you choose, really, especially if it's going to open up the hips and give you any kind of ease in the back and the pelvis. So knees, hopefully, if that's possible, are going to be as wide as the mat. We're going to place the bolster, or whatever we're using, a little bit in front of the knees, because we need this space for the belly. And we're simply just going to walk the hands down, adjust where you need to, drop the chest and the chin onto whatever you're using. You might let the palms face up here. And most importantly, in this position, make sure that you feel comfortable. So have that shuffle around. If you want, you can take the knees a little bit closer. Again, if you're in the second trimester, you've got a bit more space, that's fine. And I'm just going to show you what you can do at home if you don't have a bolster. So you can literally just use your normal bed pillow, a couple of blocks, blankets, whatever it is, and just makeshift that the height that you need. So everyone's is going to be a little bit different. So again, just play around with it. Literally make that little mountain, whatever you need. Make sure you got that space in front. And we walk down, bring in the chest and the chin. No, not the chin, the cheek. So hopefully giving you that comfort as well as the stretch. And we just make sure that we switch the chin, I keep saying the chin, we switch the cheek over just to keep the neck nice and evenly stretched. Lovely, and you can stay there as long as you need. Coming out of that pose, bring the palms down and really take your time to walk it back up to center. Fabulous. Okay, we're going to just chuck those props out of the way. And we're going to move into a little variation of down dog. So we're going to go for puppy pose to begin. So throughout our practice, you can either use child pose, which is the one we've just done, puppy pose, which we're going to do now, or your full downward dog if you feel comfortable to do so. So with puppy pose, we lift the hips, we're going to point the knees forwards but keep that nice gap between. Hips stay high over knees if possible. Don't worry if they shift back a little bit. And we're going to walk the hands forwards, sinking the chest and the head down. So we really lengthen into the spine. There's loads of space for the belly here. And your option is, again, to just use a couple of blocks, maybe even just your pillow again, to rest the head on if you feel, oh, that's too high for me, if you feel you need that little bit of extra support. So again, we don't want to be tensing and holding here. We want to be able to just extend and stretch the back. Really lengthen, let the chest sink down. Again, checking in with that lumbar spine, making sure we're not overstretching here. You might want to just suck the belly in towards the spine slightly. It's always nice to do. It's like giving the baby a little hug. And then we'll walk the palms back up onto all fours again. And then our final variation. So everything we're doing here, those three postures are all giving our back the same stretch. So do whatever one feels right for you. To take a full downward dog is safe in second and third trimester. But if you've never practiced yoga before and it's quite alien to you, then I would say stick with your puppy pose or child's pose. If not, we're going to bring the blocks long ways, palms on top, knees pointing forwards, tuck the toes underneath at the back. Just bear in mind that the blocks or whatever you're using aren't slippy on the mat, okay? So really make sure that we're safe here. We're going to inhale, lift the hips. Exhale, draw the heels back and down. Give that head a little shake, release some fresh blood flow. And just hang it out here. So spine is long. We can have a bend in the knees, that's absolutely fine. You might even choose to walk out through the heels gently as we sort of stretch into the backs of the hamstrings. It's also nice to do down dog because it sort of lifts the weight of the belly away. So it's quite nice to do for a couple of breaths. And making sure to just safely lower down to the knees. When you're ready. Wow. Okie dokie. We're going to stand up now. And not to patronise, I'm sure you know how to stand up, but a safe way in our pregnancy yoga is we bring one of the legs forwards. We're going to bring the hands to that thigh, tucking the toes under behind as we lift or push the weight into that front foot to just stand up, and you can shuffle that foot back to meet the front. Okay, so standing up, getting yourself nice and comfortable. We're gonna widen the legs now. So you might turn those toes out slightly, and everybody's length between their legs is gonna be different. So do what feels right for you. If we've got any hip pain going on, maybe keep the feet a little bit closer here. We're gonna start with the hands at the hips. Roll the shoulders back. Inhale to lengthen. And exhale to bend into knees. So we're coming into quite a nice light squat. You can choose how far you want to go down with this. It's your yoga practice, it's your pregnancy. If you feel comfortable too, you might take the arms out into our lovely cactus position. So you bend elbows, spread through fingers, and a bit of a gentle sway, if you like, side to side. Opening out through the hips, finding a little bit of strength for the legs. Good, and back to center. We'll take hands back to hips, slowly lengthen, taking time, and turn the toes to face front. Fab. We're gonna take a wide forward fold from this, so you may or may not want to use a prop once again. If so, we'll grab a couple of blocks. Again, you play around with the height and what you want or need. Pregnancy yoga certainly doesn't look fancy. So toes are pointing forwards this time, and we're gonna just hang the arms out in front. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna not compress the belly, we're not gonna round the spine, we're gonna keep lots of length here as we gently hinge the whole body forward. So think about those shoulders dropping forwards. We can keep a little bend in the knees for some support, and just dropping the hands. Maybe they come down to mat, maybe just resting on the blocks. And wherever you feel comfortable to, we're just gonna drop the head. You might find through the trimesters that block height might change. And we take a couple of breaths here. As we come back to stand, we're going to take care to bend into the knees a little bit more so. Bring the hands onto the thighs and just sort of slowly walk it up. Take your time to release. Good, we'll roll the shoulders back. And when you're ready, heel toe the feet together. Wonderful. And coming to join me. Not fully at the front of the mat, but making sure we've got a little bit of space behind. We're gonna take, to finish off these postures, a modified sun salutation. So if you've practiced a lot of yoga before, you know what your salutations are. We're certainly not going to be going deeply into those. But what we will do is keep a nice big gap between the feet. Standing tall, take the palms to face front. We're going to inhale, lift the arms, take a nice full body stretch. And then we're going to bend into knees. Hinge the body slightly forwards as we move into chair pose. Spine is long and the weight is in the heels here, so you should really be able to wiggle the toes. If we feel we're a bit too far forwards, then shift the weight back. Keep it centered. Good, we take a nice deep inhale. Exhale. Inhale, we'll lengthen the legs, drop the hands just to thighs. Folding forwards just halfway, so you can see here there's a lot of space for the belly. We're not folding all the way down. The spine is nice and long. We're going to push that chin out in front. Shoulders draw away from the ears. Bringing both hands onto one of the thighs, we're going to step it back. Drop to the knee. Good, palms come down, both knees. We find ourselves on all fours. So rather than what would be our plank pose, we're just going to gently rock forwards, bring the weight over the hands and back. Inhale forwards, exhale back. forwards and back. Lovely, tuck in those toes. We're going to bring the weight into the heels, give the soles of the feet a nice big stretch. Hands coming up to the thighs, and then we'll bring the arms out and up. So we find that cactus position again with the arms. Lift the sternum, inhale. Exhale. That feels good. We'll take 2 more breaths here. Inhale. Exhale. Good. Bringing the palms slowly back to the mat. We're going to choose which posture to go in out of our 3 before. So we can do our child's pose, we can take that puppy pose, or full downward dog. So toes are tucked under. If you're with me in the downward dog, we inhale, lift, exhale. Just taking a breath here. Slowly lower back down to the knees. Really take your time. You might even go for 1 knee at a time. And tuck those toes. Releasing yourself back. And we'll come to sit cross-legged on the mat once again. Wonderful, well done.